Welcome back to the channel. It's Billiam, and today we're going to be talking about Persona 3 Reload episode Aigis. Now, yes, I know I didn't cover the original game because, well, I did beat it, and I didn't think I wanted to do a review for it since I know it's been kind of talked up, down, left, and right. So I want to talk more about my experiences with this DLC as someone who's gained a love for the series since P3 Fest, but I didn't go very far in the answer back then. So let's get started with this review. Oh, and there will be a level of major spoilers for the base game and this DLC. I think I'll put something on screen here. That is the GeckoCon High logo. If you see that, make it your business to skip ahead in the video to avoid the spoils. So like I said, if you hadn't played this, I suggest you skip to the timestamp that I show you on this screen somewhere above my head. Since I'm about to go over a good bit of this story and some other major details, I'll give you about a good 5 seconds. And when you see that logo fade, it's safe. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good? Good. Alright, so our story in the episode Aigis begins with Aigis and the Seeds crew back at the dorm on March 31st in the game. Everyone minus a couple of them, namely Akihiko and Yukari, are there to meet up and basically start shutting down the Seeds operation since the events of Persona 3 have come to pass. The evokers and the armbands are being locked up and put away. The leader of the team passed away because he stopped the end of the world as we know it with his own life, and everyone is taking things a little hard. Things are very awkward between most of the members that are there. Mind you, all of this happened within the same month from March 5th on down to March 31st. So everyone who is available is catching up with each other in the lobby. Fuka, Junpei, Mitsuru, Ken, and Koromaru over some dinner courtesy of Mitsuru in the lobby. As they are winding down, they notice midnight is arriving, so it's time for April 1st to begin, but something extremely odd happens and the day repeats itself. Everyone in the room feels it happen. They begin to believe the Dark Hour may have made a return, but they decide to check around. Everything seems fine, and they just decide to brush it off and go on with the new day. Later on, Aigis finds herself not being able to rest in her room and is alerted by Fuka because we have a lot of trouble going on in the lobby all of a sudden. The floor is opened up and another anti-shadow apparatus that looks extremely similar to Aigis has appeared by the name of Menace. She claims to be here to protect Aigis and claims her friends are a threat to her. They do get out and Aigis stalls her out, but Menace is not taking no for an answer when she turns on Ogiya mode, so she begins attacking all the seeds that is present, but the situation turns dire until Aigis has a moment and her persona, Athena, transforms into Orpheus. She then subdues Menace with him, but at the cost of fainting and waking up in the Velvet Room, where she learns she now has to power up the wild card, which is the same power that their leader Makoto had. She now has to find the answer to life's greatest question and figure out what this ordeal may be that they're up against. And after waking up from the unconscious state, you got new gear attached to you. Menace starts to explain to you that this is an infinite loop that you're stuck in since you were out for about a day and a half. She explained to everyone about the abyss of time underneath the dome, and now Aigis learns about it. It's a place that happened to spread out and grow under your dome. It keeps you and the team locked in the dorm reliving March 31st every single day. Now, Menace's goal was to kill your friends, so to kind of end this really fast, she thought that might have been the fastest way to get this over with, but now you're going on a whole new adventure to find out what the abyss of time really has in store for you. But in due time, she starts to calm down Menace. After a verbal sparring match with mostly everyone else in your team, and Menace starts to show that she can cooperate with you despite wanting to make sure she can always be nearby her sister. Now, something that I do know about the answer from way back in 06, 07, 08, don't quote me on this, I'll probably had the date on screen, is that it had this problem with people, and I think it's the same as it is now currently, that it was just more of the same and so on. People were really not jiving with this too well because it's just Tartarus but going down. The other aspects of the game have been cut out. A lot of really small things that I found and read about in my research as of making this whole thing were kind of changed in episode Aigis. In the answer, things were different in different places. It's short, which in my opinion isn't really a bad thing for an RPG. I didn't do the Joker fight that I've heard so much about because I want my stress levels to be a little down this year. But I can say that I think this DLC epilogue in a way helps you put a pin in this story. In the time that I spent playing this story to me is aiming to take the stages of grief and implement them onto these characters, as well as how they've been trying to handle that grief of losing their leader. It shows the rift between them just growing bit by bit. They all have their reasons for the way they feel. They all miss their leader to some varying degrees, some more than others, but I feel that this comes off very realistic and saddening in its own way because, spoilers, this loop that they're in is happening because they don't want to let go of the fact that he's gone. They miss him too much. They want to stay in a place mentally where they can find themselves wanting to see them, hoping that he comes back. They can't get over the hump without having the regrets about him passing. They don't know why he had to be the one that's gone, and it's taking a toll on them because in the last mission they were expecting to die just as much as maybe he was. They've had to come face to face with memories of themselves along the way in the abyss of time that showed them before they gained their resolve and their personas. Some painful memories being Ken choosing to walk down a path of vengeance because he knows what really happened to his mother on that fateful night, but the Karijo group had already covered it up. Ken made a vow he couldn't keep. Mitsuru ended up awakening to her persona as a child in Tartarus to protect her father when one of his bodyguards succumbed to the shadow transformation during the dark hour. Mitsuru ended up being saddled with a responsibility that no child should ever have to and grow up with. Junpei being a runaway from home because his father was an alcoholic, but he meets Koromaru for the first time and they ended up connecting immediately. But Junpei himself just wanted some kind of connection to have with someone because going home was just not an option for him. The game does its best to give you some more development to them pre-joining Seas and post Makoto's death, so you can have somewhat of a deeper connection and an understanding to these characters. The only one that doesn't get anything like that is Fuka because her moment happens in the main story and everyone in the game sees her within her awakening and her resolve, so she has her moment in the sun in the main game because everything happening with her happened then. But this story does hold a bit of a level of tension between the members. In regards to their departed leader, Aigis being at the forefront of the team is welcome to them, but going through this again is something they didn't have in mind, along with being stuck in their dorm, having to relive March 31st every single day. They have this innate distrust of Metis because she's so clingy towards Aigis, and despite understanding her as time goes on, they think she's withholding information about the abyss of time from them. Everyone wants to get this ordeal over with, which is understandable, but their grief is holding them here. So after seeing all of their respective memories, including Aigis, which shows her chasing Makoto but she can't catch them, in that moment she loses the hope in her heart and she wishes to just be a machine again. It ends up leading to her gaining his power, but something else comes up with it. A shadow version of the leader appears and they have to defeat him. Upon his defeat, though, they gain these keys which ought to let them out of the loop, but they have a choice in the matter of whether they want to go back to the past or they want to walk forward with the present. In that exact moment, everyone has different feelings and motives as to why they want to do the thing they want to do. Yukari wants to go back. Mitsuru feels like she owes Makoto. Junpei is unsure, but he knows going back isn't the move to make. Ken and Akihiko are willing to go forward with their lives because they want to respect the decision that Makoto made. Fuka once again is caught in the middle, and Aigis doesn't know which way to go because of where her feelings are. So Yukari suggests a battle to decide which way to go. 4 teams of 2 members, all with their own reasoning. Menace takes everyone to the Coliseum where their lives are at stake. It pains Aigis to have to fight her friends, but it's the only way out of this situation with these keys. Aigis and Menace do end up winning all of the fights, but Seas is brought back to see what Aigis chooses to do. Yukari has a breakdown showing that a lot of her intent with the keys would have just been selfish. Everyone is at a somber point of emotions here, but Aigis pieces together what needs to be done. After some deep thinking behind some of Yukari's and Junpei's previous words, they decide to see what really happened with Makoto. And in doing so, they saw that he made the ultimate sacrifice in sealing Nyx with his life essence. But he's not keeping Nyx away from humanity. Nyx isn't running out to attack humanity. It's more like he's there to keep humanity from wanting to reach for Nyx. The manifestation of humanity's worst thoughts and feelings form this monster Erebus that's trying to tear him away from the door. But our team has to battle this thing now, and it's a hard drawn out battle, but they succeed, and in that moment they all reconcile with each other and were happy to have at least been able to see him again, even in the state that he was in. They all decided they were ready to move forward with the present and live on. Aigis lets them out, but they all end up in the Velvet Room as they were summoned there by Igor. Aigis has completed her contract with Igor, and Metis is there as well, but we learn in this moment She was the cast out part of Aigis' emotions that she wanted gone in her depression over Makoto. Medicine and Aigis fused together, and the heavy gear Aigis had been wearing all this time finally disappears. Aigis then finally gains back her emotions, but at the cost of her being extremely tired. Yes, I know, because it almost freaked me the fuck out when she said, "I feel tired." But that's besides the point. But after this meeting in the Velvet Room, they are all transported back to the dorm. All asleep, but slowly begin waking up to learn we have finally gotten time to move forward again. It's April 1st. But Aigis hasn't waken up yet, which scares the team half to death, but luckily she's really more alive than she is machine now. They live out their last days there in the dorm, and Aigis wants to continue going to school with the members who are now third years, namely Fuka, Junpei, and Yukari. They move out to the new dorm, but as you know, with change comes some kind of growing pains, but the remaining C's members are there to continue helping Aigis and the others see the way forward into the future. Now, in terms of gameplay for this, it's more of the same that we got with the base game with P3 Reload, except you're leading with Aigis in the front this time in the overworld. She has range when out and about, so she can hit enemies to start battles from afar, despite the fact that enemies' detection range is a little bit farther as well to kind of compensate for that, so that way you won't just be shooting from afar. But, and to mention this, I forgot, this is after the events of the main game, and the team has lost a bit of their fighting prowess due to said major event that did happen. And yeah, from the 5th, 6th on down to like the last of the month, hadn't had to use their evokers or anything like that. So they are extremely limited from the start. Everyone does start at level 25, but you're gonna be short 3 members right from the jump too, because they got them doing something important on the outside to help make the game kind of run a little smoothly. But luckily these characters even out after they join and doing their little side missions on the way. The leveling seems to go by a little fast too, especially if you got the right equipment and you play your shuffle times correctly here. But yes, battles play out the same as it would in the base game, so if you like the battle system, you'll be at home here. It's the standard Persona style of turn-based combat. It's the press turn system that a lot of us know, but it has the bells and whistles of what we got in P5 or P5R with the baton pass system, known as the shift system here, or showtime attacks, what is called the Aigis here. All of that is like present within this game. So if you know what you've played within P5 and if you played the base games, you won't have nothing to worry about in terms of getting into this game and playing it. Now, the dungeons aren't too far from how Tartarus works, but I guess because you're stuck in this loop, the floors do not change as often if you find yourself wanting to leave the abyss and come back. The other parts of the game that aren't there is no social mix, so no fusion bonuses, meaning you're gonna be raw dogging a lot of fusions. So just know that when you are doing your fusions, get the personas you want, build them up as best you can, or put skill cards on them, and then go make that persona that you do want. There are interactions to be had with your teammates throughout the whole game. As long as you find these items in the abyss of time to bring back to them, that'll help get them their new abilities and personality traits, which will help out big time in battles. Elizabeth is there at the Velvet Room to do some quests for her. All of the things of finding this item, beating this enemy, bringing back this thing from said enemy, it's all there. And there is shopping to be had here as well. That's when one of your earlier teammates come back after they found a route to the mall going through a certain door. So yeah, that covers that part. Now my gripes with this game, or this DLC for a matter of fact, is that now that I finished it up, I see some of the problems that are present, but the things that stick out to me is how it's just a lot of going from dungeon to dungeon. That's really about it. You're fighting a ton, but getting small bits of story on the in-between with the big spiel at the end of each dungeon or at every major point. You do also get like little quips here and there from the characters as you're traversing through the dungeons. That's something that's there. Another problem is some of the dungeon design. While I can respect them from upgrading what we saw back from way back then to now, I think my expectation may have been a little misplaced in looking for more variation within said dungeons. That's just me. So yeah, they don't change very often unless it's one of those floors with all the big red shadows, or there's a blackout floor. And that means you need to get in and get out if it's a blackout floor. That means the Reaper shows up much sooner on those floors. God forbid that floor ends up being longer than it needs to be, because you're liable to run smack into him if you can't see him on the map. And I also think the SP problem that some Persona games have ends up rearing its ugly head here too. And God forbid you use those spells too often and don't have enough SP items on hand. Starts to get tough, but you can't mitigate it with Focus the Aigis, which will always drop a random positive effect at times. In my run though, it was mostly like a lot of buffs and charges to help like make hitting harder a thing. before she would ever fill my SP again, but she's extremely useful. And speaking of theurgy, those things can really make the most battles in this game just fall flat on their face. Like, they turn them into easy cakewalks, since they either all ignore resistances plus do major damage, or they give like a major buff on hand, or hit some type of status ailment. All your members have them, and Aigis has a multitude of them since she's basically your new leader. So take advantage of them when you can to help turn the tide of a fight. Now, the OST, Persona and great OSTs go hand in hand. You don't really miss with this here. There's some tracks stuck from the base game. There's new versions of previous songs from the answer from way back in the day. And there's even a new battle theme for getting an advantage, and it's called Don't, which is a banger of a battle theme. Here, take a listen.
Survive the worst, but the worst has yet to come. And I don't do this to me now, I'm cold numb. Do not make me lost my keys to the door while you shine. Only have one wish, now it's never gonna come true. Trapped in time, forever in remorse. How could I ever be in this when nothing gets better? Don't you make me do this. Don't you make me do this. Don't you make me.
Also, go check out the opening movie for this as well. It does such a great job hitting the feeling that this is aiming for, and the song that goes along with it is amazing as well. Like I said, Persona is known for having great soundtracks over the years, and I've seen how this is what pulls people into playing these games, or at least just messing with their music as a whole. So for my final thoughts on episode Aigis, is this is an alright DLC to pick up for this game if you want more of the Persona 3 cast and that world. I played it through in a little over 40 hours. I think this does an alright job in expanding more on the characters. The story aspect is there to give you some semblance of feeling for who they are and what they've been through by this point in the timeline. But it's spread through a lot, and I mean a lot of battling and dungeon crawling. It is pretty much an extra 30 to 40 hours of gameplay for you to have. So if you're not tired of how the combat plays and you have a love for this cast and you're looking for something to close the book on Persona 3, this is it. That's the most I can really say about this DLC, because in my opinion as of right now, Persona 3 Reload, I know a lot of people say we don't have a definitive version of how to play Persona 3, but I think this is one of those ways to do it. I know we can tell people to go back and play Fest, because I think that's a solid way to go about doing it as well. But it's all in your choice of whether you want to go back and play that or play this one here. You have a choice in the matter. I'm not the be all end all. I just wanted to put that out there. So that's all I have to say. Oh, and a small side note about this here, about this DLC. This is a part of an expansion pass, okay? This is the episode Aigis, some costumes and some music and something else extra that goes along with this. I can't remember what, but I'll post it up here on the screen so you can see it. The problem with this, when it got released, was it got smacked with a bunch of negative reviews on the pricing, and I think the pricing on this was like $35 at the release. So imagine having paid full price for the game and then having to come back when they do this for another $35. I don't think everybody was looking to have to pay all of that to get this, and I know I didn't. I waited for it to go on sale. I think it went down to like 15, and I was like, I'm willing to do that before I pay 35 for this full set out here. So yes, if you want this, grab this on a sale, because Atlus and DLC practices have never been the best of friends. I know a lot of companies have bad tendencies with DLC practices, but in my experience, Atlus, boy, they something. Yeah, but that is enough for me. I've yapped long enough. I will be back with another review of something. What? Well, next month is my birthday month, and I was thinking of maybe playing a game that came out in February, or to play something that comes out this year in February. If I can get my hands on it, we'll see. But anyways, I'm out. I haven't streamed in quite some time since the new year started, so it's time I hop back onto the purple site and start streaming again. We'll be back soon, and I'll be playing Expedition 33 for the first time on my Twitch. Come see me at Backlog Billiam over there on the purple site. Like, comment, and subscribe over here, and follow me over there for playthroughs and things of that sort. I love you. Take care, and more backlog adventures are to be had soon. It's been Billiam. Peace.